The year is ending. And if you're honest with yourself, you don't want to repeat the same story again. You did your best. You survived. You adapted. But deep down, you know that simply getting through another year is no longer enough. Something feels unfinished. Something feels misaligned. You're not broken, but you're not fully in control either. And that quiet tension follows you into the end of 2025. The modern world exhausts the mind without warning. It pulls your attention in every direction, fills your days with noise, and leaves you wondering why clarity feels so rare. You try to stay motivated, but motivation fades. You try to stay positive, but positivity doesn't hold when discipline is missing. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to drift. Here is the truth most people avoid. A new year does not change a life. A new way of thinking does. 2026 will not rescue you. No date on a calendar will. Change only happens when the mind is rebuilt with structure, clarity, and inner discipline. This is where Stoicism enters, not as a philosophy to admire, but as a guide to live by. Stoicism was forged in chaos, loss, uncertainty, and pressure. It was built for people who needed strength, not comfort. For those who wanted to remain calm in a world that constantly tries to shake them. In this guide, you will discover how Stoic principles can help you reset your mindset, regain control of your reactions, sharpen your discipline, and step into 2026 with a stronger inner foundation. This is not about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming stable. As you listen, notice what resonates with you. The mind naturally holds on to what it's ready to act on. And that quiet recognition, the moment something stays with you, is where real change begins. Lesson 1. Let go of the old you. You may not notice it right away, but you are carrying something heavy. Not in your hands, not on your body, in your mind. It is a quiet weight, invisible, constant. It does not shout or demand attention. It simply stays there, day after day, year after year, until you forget what it feels like to live without it. This weight comes from many small things: unfinished thoughts, unspoken frustrations, expectations you never chose, responsibilities you accepted automatically, pressure you learned to call normal. You wake up, you do what needs to be done, you move forward. From the outside, everything looks fine. But inside, there is a subtle tension that never fully disappears. You feel tired, even when you rest. You feel distracted, even when you try to focus. You feel heavy without knowing exactly why. This is not weakness. This is overload. Modern life does not exhaust you with one big disaster. It exhausts you slowly, through accumulation. Too many things demanding your attention. Too many decisions. Too many comparisons. Too many voices telling you who you should be and how fast you should become it. Your mind was never designed to carry all of this at once. Yet every day, more weight is added. Each unresolved worry becomes background noise. Each postponed decision becomes mental tension. Each comparison becomes silent pressure. Each time you say, "I'll deal with it later," the mind keeps it open, and open loops drain energy. Over time, this creates a constant inner fatigue, not dramatic, not extreme, just enough to make life feel heavier than it should. Enough to reduce clarity. Enough to weaken discipline. Enough to make change feel difficult. Stoicism begins with a simple but powerful idea. Before you try to change your life, you must see what you are carrying. Not to judge yourself, not to feel guilty, not to blame the past, just to become aware. Awareness is the first relief. Most people try to change their lives by adding more goals, more habits, more pressure, more effort. But a Stoic understands something different. Real change often begins by removing weight, not adding it. You do not need more intensity. You need more space. Ask yourself calmly, what thoughts do I keep replaying that I cannot control? What expectations am I carrying that are not truly mine? What worries follow me every day without ever leading to action? What noise fills my mind without giving anything back? These questions are not meant to overwhelm you. They are meant to clarify. The invisible weight you carry is not proof that you failed. It is proof that you endured, that you adapted, that you survived in a demanding world. But survival mode is not meant to last forever. When you stay in survival too long, the mind becomes tense, reactive, scattered. Stoicism does not ask you to escape life. It asks you to look at it honestly, to pause and observe your inner state without drama, to say quietly, "This is what I've been carrying." That sentence alone changes something. You stop fighting yourself. You stop pretending everything is fine. You stop forcing motivation where clarity is missing. You begin to breathe mentally. Nothing in this first part requires action. There is nothing to fix yet, no habit to build, no rule to apply. This is simply about seeing clearly. Because what you do not see, you cannot release. And what you cannot release, you keep carrying. As this awareness settles, you may notice something subtle, a slight lightness. Not because life changed, but because you stopped denying what you feel. And honesty always creates space. This is the real beginning of change. Not excitement, not motivation, but clarity. Let this understanding sit quietly in your mind. Do not rush it. Do not analyze it too much. Just notice what feels heavy. That is enough for now. This awareness is the ground on which everything else will be built. Every year, many people tell themselves the same thing. This year will be different. They change the calendar. They change the number on the year. They make promises. They feel hopeful for a moment. But a few weeks later, life feels strangely familiar again. The same habits return, the same reactions appear, the same frustrations repeat. This is not bad luck. This is not destiny. This is mindset. Stoicism teaches a very simple truth that is easy to ignore. If the way you think stays the same, your life will follow the same path. Time does not change people. New years do not change people. New environments do not change people. Only a new way of thinking does. Many people believe change starts with motivation. They wait to feel inspired, energized, ready. But motivation is unstable. It comes and goes. It depends on mood, energy, circumstances. When motivation disappears, so does action. This is why motivation-based change rarely lasts. A mindset, on the other hand, is not what you feel occasionally. It is what you return to automatically. It is how you react when things are uncomfortable. It is how you speak to yourself when something goes wrong. It is how you decide when no one is watching. If these patterns stay the same, results stay the same. Repeating the same mindset means repeating the same behaviors, avoiding discomfort, overthinking instead of acting, waiting to feel ready, blaming circumstances, looking for external validation, postponing difficult decisions. These behaviors are not random. They are learned, and what is learned can be unlearned. Stoicism does not judge these patterns. It simply exposes them. Most people try to change their lives from the outside. They focus on goals, routines, and outcomes, but Stoicism works from the inside. It asks a deeper question. Who are you being when things are difficult? Because difficulty reveals mindset. When life becomes uncomfortable, do you resist reality or accept it? When things don't go your way, do you react emotionally or respond calmly? When progress feels slow, do you give up or stay consistent? Your answers show your true mindset, not your intentions. This is why repeating the same mindset produces the same life, even with new plans. You may want different results, but your inner habits quietly guide you back to what is familiar. The uncomfortable truth is this: if your life has not changed, it is not because you are incapable. It is because your mental patterns have not changed. This is not a reason for shame. It is a reason for clarity. Once you understand this, something important happens. You stop blaming time. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You realize that change does not begin with external movement. It begins with internal adjustment. Stoicism invites you to examine your mental habits calmly, not to attack yourself, not to criticize, just to observe. How do you respond to pressure? How do you deal with uncertainty? How do you treat yourself when you fail? How quickly do you escape discomfort? These questions are not meant to discourage you. They are meant to show you where real change must happen. Repeating the same mindset is like trying to build a new house on the same unstable foundation. No matter how beautiful the design is, the structure will collapse under pressure. Stoicism insists on rebuilding the foundation first. It does not promise fast results. It promises solid ones. When you stop expecting the year to change you and start preparing to change your way of thinking, you step out of the loop. You stop hoping. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop repeating emotional habits that no longer serve you. You begin to create something new, not through force, but through clarity. This part is not asking you to act yet. It is asking you to recognize repetition. Because once you clearly see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. And once you cannot unsee it, you are ready for the next step. That step is acceptance, not resignation, but honest acceptance of where you are and what must end. And that is where the next part begins. Every phase of life has a beginning and an end. This is true in nature, and it is true within you. Yet many people resist this truth when it comes to their inner world. They try to extend phases that have already finished, holding on to ways of thinking and living that no longer fit who they are becoming. Stoicism teaches a calm and powerful idea. The end of a cycle is not a failure. It is a sign of growth. A cycle ends when it has taught you what it needed to teach you. It may have helped you survive, adapt, or endure difficult circumstances. But survival is not meant to be permanent. What once protected you can eventually limit you. Accepting the end of a cycle requires honesty. Not dramatic honesty, not emotional honesty, but quiet recognition. The recognition that something inside you feels complete, even if you cannot fully explain why. Many people confuse acceptance with regret. They look back and judge themselves harshly. I should have done more. I wasted time. I made too many mistakes. Stoicism does not encourage this way of thinking. Regret keeps you tied to the past with bitterness. Acceptance frees you to move forward with clarity. You cannot change what has already happened, but you can change how you carry it. You can choose to extract understanding instead of shame, wisdom instead of self-blame. Accepting the end of a cycle does not mean erasing your past. It means integrating it. Every experience, even the difficult ones, shaped your perception and strength. Rejecting them only creates inner conflict. Stoicism invites you to say, this chapter is complete. Not with anger, not with nostalgia, but with respect. This respect is important. Without it, the past continues to pull you backward emotionally. With it, the past becomes neutral, no longer a weight, no longer a wound. Many people try to start something new while still emotionally attached to what is over. This creates inner resistance. Part of them wants to move forward, while another part is still facing backward. This division drains energy and clarity. Acceptance reunites you. It allows you to stand fully in the present, not dragged by what happened before, not anxious about what might come next, just grounded. There is also a deeper layer to ending a cycle. Sometimes, what needs to end is not a situation, but an identity. The identity of struggling, of reacting, of waiting for permission, of surviving instead of choosing. Letting go of an identity feels uncomfortable because identity provides familiarity. Even an identity that causes suffering can feel safer than the unknown. But Stoicism teaches that growth requires release. When you let an identity end, you create space for something stronger. This does not require dramatic action. It requires acknowledgement. A quiet, internal shift. This version of me has done its work. When you accept this, you stop forcing old solutions onto new problems. You stop repeating internal arguments that no longer matter. You stop explaining yourself to outdated narratives. You begin to feel lighter. Acceptance is not passive. It is active clarity. It is choosing not to carry what no longer belongs to you. It is allowing the natural rhythm of change to unfold. This part of the lesson is not asking you to create a new identity yet. It is asking you to close the previous one properly, without guilt, without judgment, without emotional violence toward yourself. Just understanding. Because a cycle that ends consciously does not haunt you. It releases you. And once released, you are ready for the final step of this lesson, creating inner space for what comes next. Real change does not begin with effort. It begins with space. Many people try to build a new life while their inner world is still crowded. Their mind is full of noise, tension, unfinished thoughts, emotional residue, and constant stimulation. They want clarity, but they carry confusion. They want discipline, but they live in mental chaos. Stoicism teaches a simple rule. Nothing new can grow in a mind that is already full. Creating inner space does not mean escaping life or avoiding responsibility. It means clearing the internal environment in which your life takes place. Without this space, even good intentions feel heavy. Even rest feels incomplete. Even opportunities feel overwhelming. Inner space is created through subtraction, not addition. You do not need more information. You do not need more goals. You do not need more pressure. You need fewer mental burdens. This begins with silence, not external silence, but internal silence. Silence from constant mental commentary. Silence from replaying conversations. Silence from imagining problems that have not yet happened. Silence from reacting to every thought as if it were urgent. The Stoic does not try to stop thoughts. He simply stops chasing them. This small change creates immediate relief. When you stop engaging with every thought, your mind naturally slows down. Tension decreases. Awareness increases. You begin to observe instead of react. Another key element of inner space is reducing urgency. Modern life trains the mind to believe everything must be solved immediately. This creates anxiety and impulsive decisions. Stoicism teaches patience, not waiting passively, but acting calmly without panic. When urgency fades, clarity appears. Inner space also grows through detachment. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means distance. The ability to notice thoughts, emotions, and impulses without identifying with them completely. You are not your anxiety. You are not your fear. You are not your impatience. You are the one observing them. This perspective creates freedom. You stop being pulled in every direction by emotions. You stop reacting automatically. You begin to choose your responses deliberately. Another way to create inner space is simplification. Many people care deeply about too many things at once. Their attention is divided, their energy scattered. Stoicism teaches selectivity. Not everything deserves your concern. When you choose carefully what matters, mental noise decreases, focus increases, strength returns. As inner space grows, something subtle but powerful happens. You begin to feel lighter, not because life became easier, but because you stopped carrying unnecessary weight. Your thoughts slow down, your reactions soften, your mind becomes more ordered. This order is not rigidity, it is calm structure. A calm mind is not empty, it is clear. Creating inner space does not require drastic changes. It begins with small, consistent moments of mental withdrawal. A few minutes of quiet observation, slower breathing, letting thoughts pass without engagement, choosing not to react immediately. These moments train the mind to rest in awareness instead of agitation. And in that resting state, something important becomes possible. You can hear yourself again. Not the fearful voice, not the anxious voice, but the quiet voice of discernment, the one that knows what matters, what must change, and what can be left behind. This is the true end of the reset phase. You have seen the weight you were carrying. You have understood why repetition kept you stuck. You have accepted the end of a cycle, and now you have created space. Space is not the goal. Space is the condition. In this space, discipline can grow, principles can take root, clarity can guide action. Without this space, everything feels forced. With it, change becomes natural. You do not need to rush forward. You do not need to reinvent everything overnight. You only need to protect this space. Because in the calm ground you have created, a stronger version of you is already forming. Quietly, steadily, without noise. Lesson 2. Stoic Foundations. A calm life begins with a clear boundary. Most people feel mentally exhausted not because they work too hard, but because they try to control too much. They spend their energy worrying about outcomes, people, timing, recognition, and circumstances that do not fully belong to them. This creates constant tension inside the mind. Stoicism starts with a simple but life-changing idea. Some things are under your control, and many things are not. This idea may sound obvious, but very few people actually live by it. When you fail to make this distinction, your mind stays in conflict with reality. You try to force life to match your expectations, and when it doesn't, frustration, anxiety, and anger appear. You feel powerless not because you are weak, but because your effort is misplaced. What is truly under your control is limited, but powerful. You control your thoughts. You control your judgments. You control your intentions. You control your actions. You control your reactions. Everything else is uncertain. You can influence outcomes, but you do not own them. You can prepare, but you cannot guarantee results. You can express yourself, but you cannot control how others respond. You can give your best, but you cannot control how life rewards it. This truth is uncomfortable at first. It challenges the ego. It removes the illusion that you can manage everything if you try hard enough. But once accepted, it brings deep relief. Because the moment you stop trying to control what is not yours, your mind relaxes. Many people confuse responsibility with control. Stoicism separates them clearly. Responsibility means acting with integrity and effort. Control means deciding the outcome. You are responsible for the first, not the second. When you understand this, you stop blaming yourself for things that were never in your hands. You stop replaying the past. You stop worrying excessively about the future. You stop carrying guilt for outcomes you could not decide. Your focus returns to the present. This shift changes how you act. Instead of asking, "What if this goes wrong?" you ask, "What is the right action now?" Instead of waiting for certainty, you move with clarity. Instead of demanding guarantees, you commit to effort. This creates inner stability. When your attention stays on what you control, anxiety loses its power. Anxiety feeds on uncertainty. Stoicism removes its fuel by redirecting attention to action and character. You stop reacting emotionally to every obstacle. You stop seeing challenges as personal attacks. You begin to treat them as neutral situations that require a response, not emotional resistance. This does not make you passive. It makes you precise. You still pursue goals. You still work hard. You still care. But you no longer tie your peace to results. You tie it to alignment, acting according to your values and reason. This is a major shift. Most people measure their worth by success or failure. The Stoic measures himself by effort and intention. Did I act with discipline? Did I respond calmly? Did I stay aligned with my principles? If the answer is yes, the outcome becomes secondary. This mindset protects you from emotional extremes. Success does not inflate you. Failure does not crush you. You remain steady. There is also a deeper freedom here. When you accept what you cannot control, you stop resisting reality. Resistance creates suffering. Acceptance creates clarity. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means seeing things as they are so you can respond wisely. Life becomes simpler, not easier, but clearer. You no longer waste energy on imaginary scenarios. You no longer argue internally with the past. You no longer demand certainty from the future. You act in the present with focus and calm. This is the foundation of Stoic strength. Before moving forward, let this idea settle. Every time you feel disturbed, ask yourself where your attention has gone. If it has moved towards something you cannot control, gently bring it back. Back to your actions, back to your choices, back to your values. This return is the beginning of freedom. What happens to you is not always what hurts you. What hurts you is often how you see what happens. Two people can live the same situation. One remains calm. The other feels overwhelmed. The difference is not intelligence, strength, or luck. The difference is perception. Stoicism teaches a powerful idea that changes the way you experience life. Events themselves are neutral. Your interpretation gives them meaning. This idea may feel uncomfortable at first because it removes an easy excuse. It means that much of your suffering does not come from the outside world, but from the way your mind interprets it. But inside this truth is also great freedom. Your mind is constantly telling stories. It labels situations, predicts outcomes, and fills in gaps with assumptions. Most of this happens automatically, without your awareness. And because it happens so quickly, you assume these thoughts are facts. They are not. A delayed message becomes rejection, A mistake becomes failure. A disagreement becomes disrespect. A difficult day becomes a bad life. In reality, these are interpretations, not truths. Stoicism invites you to create space between what happens and what you think about what happens. This space is small, but it is powerful. It is where peace is created. When something unpleasant occurs, most people react immediately. Emotion rises, tension appears, and the mind rushes to judge. The Stoic pauses, not to suppress emotion, but to observe the judgment behind it. He asks simple questions. What exactly happened? What am I telling myself about it? Is this interpretation the only possible one? Does this way of seeing the situation help me or weaken me? These questions interrupt automatic suffering. For example, imagine a plan does not work out. The mind quickly says, I always fail, or nothing ever goes my way. This interpretation creates discouragement and self-doubt. A Stoic sees the same situation differently. This plan failed. That is information. I can adjust. The event did not change. The experience did. Perception works like a lens. If the lens is distorted, everything looks threatening or heavy. When the lens is clear, reality becomes manageable. Stoicism does not ask you to lie to yourself with false positivity. It asks you to see reality accurately. Not better than it is, not worse than it is, just as it is. This accuracy reduces emotional suffering. Many people believe their emotions are caused by events. Stoicism shows that emotions are caused by judgments. Change the judgment and the emotional response changes. This does not happen instantly. It is a skill that develops with practice. Each time you pause before reacting, you weaken the old habit and strengthen a new one. Another important aspect of perception is recognizing exaggeration. The mind often turns small problems into big threats. A single bad moment becomes a bad day. A bad day becomes a bad life. Stoicism breaks this chain. You learn to keep situations in proportion. This ability creates calm. Calm allows better decisions. Better decisions create better outcomes. Stoicism also teaches that perception is closely tied to expectations. When your expectations are unrealistic, disappointment is constant. When expectations are flexible, peace increases. This does not mean expecting nothing. It means accepting uncertainty. Life does not owe you predictability. When you accept this, surprises lose their power to disturb you. There is also freedom in realizing that other people's behavior is not a personal attack. Most people act from their own fears, habits, and limitations. When you stop interpreting everything personally, emotional tension decreases. You do not need to defend yourself constantly. You do not need to explain yourself endlessly. You do not need to react to every opinion. This creates emotional independence. Perception is not about controlling thoughts forcefully. It is about noticing them and choosing which ones to believe. Not every thought deserves your trust. Not every interpretation deserves your energy. With time, this practice changes your inner climate. Situations that once caused stress feel lighter. Problems feel solvable. You respond instead of react. Peace becomes something you generate, not something you wait for. Before moving forward, remember this principle. When you feel disturbed, look at the story your mind is telling. Often, changing the story is enough to change the experience. This awareness is one of the strongest tools Stoicism offers. Many people misunderstand acceptance. They think accepting reality means giving up. They think it means being passive, weak, or defeated. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Acceptance is not resignation. Acceptance is clarity. Resignation says, there is nothing I can do. Acceptance says, "This is the situation. Now I will choose how to respond." The difference is enormous. When you resist reality, your mind enters conflict. You argue with what already exists. You wish things were different. You replay the past. You imagine alternate versions of events. This resistance creates tension, frustration, and emotional fatigue. Reality does not change because you resist it. Your suffering increases. Acceptance ends this internal fight. It does not mean you like the situation. It does not mean you approve of it. It means you see it clearly, without distortion, without emotional resistance. Only then can you act wisely. Stoicism teaches that reality is the starting point of all effective action. If you misjudge the terrain, every step will be unstable. Acceptance allows you to stand firmly on what is real, not on what you wish were real. Many people confuse acceptance with tolerance of injustice or pain. Stoicism does not tell you to accept harmful behavior or remain in damaging situations. It tells you to accept the fact that the situation exists so you can respond intelligently. If something can be changed, acceptance allows you to change it calmly. If something cannot be changed, acceptance allows you to endure it without inner collapse. Without acceptance, even action becomes emotional and reckless. Another misunderstanding is that acceptance removes ambition. In reality, it sharpens it. When you stop wasting energy resisting reality, you have more energy to improve what is possible. You stop complaining. You stop blaming. You stop asking, "Why me?" Instead, you ask, "What now?" This question is powerful. What now brings you into the present. What now focuses your attention on action. What now removes emotional noise. Acceptance also protects you from bitterness. When life does not follow your expectations, bitterness appears if you feel entitled to a different outcome. Stoicism removes this sense of entitlement. Life does not owe you ease. It does not owe you fairness. It does not owe you explanations. This is not pessimism, it is realism. Realism creates resilience. When you accept this, disappointments feel lighter. Setbacks feel temporary. You stop taking everything personally. You begin to move with life instead of against it. Acceptance also builds emotional stability. You are less shocked by change, less disturbed by uncertainty, less reactive to loss or delay. This does not make you cold. It makes you grounded. You still feel emotions, but they no longer control your behavior. You feel sadness without collapsing. You feel anger without acting destructively. You feel fear without freezing. This emotional regulation is a direct result of acceptance. Another important aspect of acceptance is self-acceptance. Many people fight themselves constantly. They criticize their past, their mistakes, their weaknesses. Stoicism teaches responsibility without cruelty. You accept that you are imperfect. You accept that you are learning. You accept that mistakes are part of growth. This does not excuse bad behavior. It simply removes self-hatred from the process of improvement. When you accept yourself as you are, you gain the strength to change. Acceptance also improves relationships. When you stop demanding that others behave exactly as you want, frustration decreases. You see people as they are, not as you imagine they should be. This creates emotional distance and peace. You can still set boundaries. You can still say no. You can still walk away. Acceptance does not mean submission. It means discernment. Stoicism teaches you to choose your battles wisely. Not every situation deserves your emotional investment. Not every problem requires a reaction. Acceptance helps you conserve strength. Over time, this practice changes how you experience life. You feel less resistance, less inner tension, less mental exhaustion. You move through challenges with steadiness instead of panic. Acceptance becomes a form of inner strength. Before moving forward, remember this principle. You cannot build a calm life on resistance. You can only build it on clarity. Acceptance is the doorway to that clarity. Many people carry responsibility like a punishment. They replay mistakes. They criticize themselves harshly. They turn every error into proof that something is wrong with them. Stoicism teaches a different way. Responsibility is not guilt. Responsibility is clarity. Guilt looks backward and hurts. Responsibility looks forward and corrects. When you confuse the two, improvement becomes painful. You punish yourself instead of learning. You stay trapped in self-judgment instead of moving forward with wisdom. Stoicism does not deny responsibility. It embraces it fully, but without cruelty. You are responsible for your choices. You are responsible for your actions. You are responsible for how you respond to life. But you're not responsible for being perfect. This distinction changes everything. Many people hesitate to take responsibility because they associate it with shame. They fear that admitting a mistake means condemning themselves. As a result, they avoid responsibility altogether, blame circumstances, or stay stuck. Stoicism removes shame from responsibility. When something goes wrong, the Stoic asks calmly, "What was under my control? What choice did I make? What can I adjust next time?" There is no emotional attack in these questions. There is only learning. Responsibility without guilt creates momentum. You stop wasting energy on regret and redirect it toward improvement. The past becomes information, not a weapon against yourself. This approach also builds self-respect. When you take responsibility without self-hatred, you trust yourself more. You know you can face mistakes, honestly, without collapsing. This confidence is quiet, but powerful. Stoicism teaches that self-criticism does not make you better. Awareness does. Another important part of responsibility is knowing where it ends. You're not responsible for everything that happens to you. You're responsible for how you meet what happens. If something outside your control causes difficulty, guilt has no place. You did not fail. You encountered reality. When you remove guilt from responsibility, you stop carrying emotional weight that does not belong to you. Your mind becomes lighter. Your actions become clearer. This also prevents resentment. When you accept responsibility calmly, you do not turn anger inward or outward. You stop blaming others excessively, and you stop blaming yourself unfairly. Responsibility becomes balanced. Stoicism also teaches patience with yourself. Growth is not immediate. Change is not instant. You will apply principles imperfectly at first. That is normal. Responsibility means noticing this and continuing anyway. Many people quit when they fail once. They believe failure means the path is wrong. Stoicism teaches that failure is part of training. You adjust and continue. This mindset creates resilience. Responsibility without guilt also improves discipline. When you remove emotional punishment, action becomes easier. You are no longer afraid of trying. You no longer avoid effort to protect your ego. You act, observe, adjust, and act again. This is how strong habits are built. Another important effect of this principle is inner stability. When guilt disappears, your emotional state becomes more consistent. You are not constantly swinging between pride and shame. You remain grounded. You become reliable to yourself. Stoicism encourages you to treat yourself as a student, not a criminal. You are learning how to live with clarity and strength, Mistakes are lessons, not verdicts. This does not excuse harmful behavior. Responsibility still requires correction. But correction without guilt is far more effective than punishment. When you understand this, self-improvement stops feeling heavy. It becomes calm, steady, and sustainable. Before closing this lesson, remember this idea. You grow faster when you stop attacking yourself. You grow stronger when you hold yourself accountable with respect. Responsibility without guilt allows you to stand upright, even when you fall. It allows you to move forward without dragging emotional weight behind you. This completes the foundation phase. You now understand what is under your control, how perception shapes experience, why acceptance creates clarity, and how responsibility can exist without guilt. With these foundations in place, you are ready to move forward, not with pressure, but with structure. Lesson 3, Stoic Rules to Live By, in 2026. If you want 2026 to be different, you must start by changing how you meet reality. Most people lose energy, not because life is cruel, but because they fight what already exists. They argue internally with circumstances. They resist facts. They replay events, wishing they had happened differently. This inner resistance creates frustration, anger, and exhaustion. Stoicism teaches a calm but demanding rule. Reality is the starting point, not the enemy. When you resist reality, you waste strength. When you accept it, you gain clarity. Facing reality does not mean liking it. It does not mean approving injustice or pain. It means seeing the situation clearly, without emotional distortion, so you can respond intelligently. Many people confuse resistance with strength. They believe that refusing reality shows determination. In truth, resistance often hides fear. Fear of accepting limits. Fear of letting go of illusions. Fear of responsibility. Stoicism removes these illusions gently but firmly. When something happens, the Stoic does not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" He asks, "What is happening?" This small shift removes emotional drama and brings the mind back to the present. The present is the only place where action is possible. When you face reality without resistance, your mind becomes quieter. You stop feeding anger. You stop amplifying pain with stories. You stop adding emotional weight to facts. This creates immediate relief. Many people believe their suffering comes from events. Stoicism shows that much suffering comes from how strongly you resist events. Resistance tightens the mind. Acceptance loosens it. Think about how often you say, "This shouldn't be happening," or "This isn't fair." These thoughts do not change the situation. They only increase tension. Facing reality means dropping the word should. Reality does not care about should. It responds to clarity. This principle is especially important when things go wrong, when plans fail, when people disappoint you, when progress is slower than expected. Resistance makes these moments heavier. Acceptance makes them workable. When you accept reality, you stop reacting emotionally. You become strategic. You ask, "What can be done now? What is under my control? What adjustment is needed?" This mindset turns problems into information. Another important aspect of facing reality is accepting your current position honestly. Many people lie to themselves about where they are in life. They minimize problems or exaggerate progress to protect their ego. Stoicism demands honesty. Honesty is not self-attack. It is self-respect. When you see your situation clearly, without excuses and without harsh judgment, you gain power. You stop building plans on illusion. You stop avoiding necessary changes. This honesty may feel uncomfortable at first, but discomfort here is temporary. Clarity lasts. Facing reality also means accepting limits. You have limited time, limited energy, limited control. When you accept this, you stop spreading yourself too thin. You choose priorities wisely. You begin to act with focus. Stoicism teaches that strength is not loud. It is calm. It does not fight reality. It works with it. In 2026, this rule will protect you from emotional exhaustion. When things go well, you remain grounded. When things go badly, you remain steady. You do not overreact in either direction. You stop seeing life as a battle to win emotionally. You see it as a process to navigate intelligently. Facing reality without resistance also improves your relationships. When you accept people as they are, not as you wish they were, frustration decreases. You stop trying to control others. You set boundaries calmly. You walk away when necessary, without anger. This creates peace. This rule does not make life easy. It makes life clear. Clarity allows progress. Before moving on, remember this principle. Every moment of resistance is a signal. It shows you where acceptance is needed. When you feel tension, pause. Ask yourself where you are fighting reality instead of facing it. This awareness alone can change your experience. This is the first rule to live by in 2026. Without it, every other rule feels heavy. With it, everything becomes lighter. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always control how you meet what happens. This idea sounds simple, yet it changes everything when it is truly understood. Most people spend their lives trying to manage events, people, outcomes, and circumstances. When these things do not behave as expected, emotional chaos begins. Stoicism teaches a different focus. Events are external. Reactions are internal. Only one of them belongs to you. When you try to control events, frustration is inevitable. Life is unpredictable. People are inconsistent. Circumstances change without asking permission. But when you learn to control your reactions, stability becomes possible, even in uncertainty. Many people believe their emotions are automatic and unavoidable. They say, "I can't help how I feel." Stoicism does not deny emotions, but it challenges this belief. It teaches that emotions are influenced by judgments, and judgments can be examined. Between what happens and how you respond, there is a small space. In that space, you have a choice. Most suffering comes from acting as if that space does not exist. When something unexpected happens, the mind reacts instantly. Anger, fear, frustration, or disappointment appear before you have time to think. If you act from this first reaction, you give your power away. The Stoic learns to pause. This pause does not remove emotion. It creates distance from it. You still feel the reaction, but you do not obey it immediately. You observe it. You let it pass. And then you choose your response. This is not suppression. It is mastery. For example, someone speaks to you disrespectfully. The automatic reaction is to defend, attack, or withdraw emotionally. A Stoic notices the impulse and asks, "Is reacting immediately helpful?" Often, it is not. By choosing not to react impulsively, you protect your dignity. You keep control of the situation. You act with intention instead of emotion. This ability becomes more powerful with practice. Another example. A plan fails. Many people panic, complain, or lose motivation. A Stoic recognizes the emotional reaction, but does not let it decide the next step. He evaluates the situation calmly and adjusts. The failure remains the same. The experience changes completely. Controlling reactions also protects your energy. Emotional reactions are expensive. They drain attention, clarity, and strength. When you react less, you conserve energy for what matters. This is especially important in 2026, where constant stimulation pushes people into emotional extremes. News, social media, and comparison trigger reactions constantly. Without control, your inner state becomes dependent on external noise. Stoicism teaches emotional independence. You do not need to react to everything you see or hear. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every situation requires an emotional response. Choosing when not to react is a form of strength. This does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means becoming selective. When you control your reactions, you gain freedom. You stop being pushed and pulled by circumstances. You stop being predictable. You stop letting others decide your inner state. Your life becomes calmer. This rule also improves decision-making. When emotions are high, judgment is weak. When reactions are controlled, thinking becomes clear. Clear thinking leads to better actions. Over time, people begin to notice this calm. They may not understand it, but they feel it. Calm presence carries authority. It creates trust. It reduces conflict. Most importantly, controlling reactions builds self-respect. When you know you can face difficulty without losing control, confidence grows naturally. You trust yourself in pressure. This trust is not loud. It is stable. Before moving forward, remember this principle. You cannot choose what happens next, but you can always choose who you are in the moment it happens. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you strengthen this ability. Each time you respond calmly, you train your mind. In 2026, this rule will save you from unnecessary suffering. It will help you navigate challenges without losing yourself in them. This is how you remain steady in an unstable world. Most people see discomfort as a problem. Stoicism sees it as training. This difference alone separates those who grow stronger from those who stay fragile. In modern life, discomfort is avoided whenever possible. Comfort is treated as a goal. Ease is seen as success. But a life built entirely around comfort slowly weakens the mind. Stoicism teaches a clear rule. What you avoid controls you. What you face trains you. Discomfort is not here to punish you. It is here to prepare you. Every time you avoid discomfort, your mind learns a dangerous lesson. I cannot handle this. Over time, this belief becomes stronger. Small difficulties begin to feel overwhelming. Minor stress feels unbearable. Life feels heavier than it should, but when you face discomfort intentionally, the opposite happens. Your mind learns, I can endure, I can adapt, I can continue. This lesson builds inner strength. Discomfort does not need to be extreme to be effective. Stoicism does not require dramatic suffering. It requires voluntary challenge. Small, controlled moments where you choose what is slightly uncomfortable instead of what is easy. For example, doing the task you keep postponing. Waking up when you said you would. Sitting with a difficult emotion without escaping. Having a necessary but uncomfortable conversation. Choosing focus over distraction. These moments seem small, but they train the same mental muscle. Each time you choose discomfort, you strengthen discipline. Each time you escape discomfort, you strengthen avoidance. Over time, these choices shape your identity. Stoicism understands that discipline is not built through intensity, but through consistency. One difficult choice today is more powerful than many easy choices. Discomfort also teaches humility. It reminds you that growth is not comfortable, that improvement requires effort, that change asks something from you. Many people wait until they feel ready to face discomfort. Stoicism teaches that readiness comes after action, not before it. You do not become strong and then face difficulty. You face difficulty and become strong. This mindset removes hesitation. Using discomfort as training also changes how you experience challenges. When difficulty appears unexpectedly, it feels less threatening. You have already practiced being uncomfortable. Your mind recognizes the sensation. It does not panic. This creates resilience. In 2026, life will not become perfectly smooth. Challenges will still appear. Delays will still happen. Discomfort will still arise. The difference is that you will no longer see these moments as obstacles. You will see them as familiar terrain. This familiarity reduces fear. Another important aspect of discomfort training is emotional endurance. Many people escape uncomfortable emotions immediately: sadness, frustration, boredom, uncertainty. They distract themselves, numb themselves, or avoid reflection. Stoicism teaches you to stay present. When you allow an emotion to exist without reacting impulsively, it loses intensity. It passes. You learn that emotions are temporary. This knowledge creates emotional stability. Discomfort training also builds self-respect. Each time you do what's difficult but right, you trust yourself more. Confidence grows quietly. You begin to see yourself as someone who can handle life. This confidence is not arrogance. It is reliability. You know that when things are hard, you will not abandon yourself. Discomfort also simplifies decision-making. When you stop avoiding difficulty, choices become clearer. You choose what matters instead of what feels easiest. This clarity saves time and energy. Stoicism doesn't tell you to suffer unnecessarily. It tells you to stop fearing discomfort. When fear disappears, discomfort loses its power over you. Life becomes lighter, not because it is easier, but because you are stronger. Before moving forward, remember this principle. Comfort weakens the mind when it becomes a habit. Discomfort strengthens the mind when it becomes a choice. Each day offers small opportunities to train. You do not need to transform everything at once. One deliberate choice is enough. In 2026, let discomfort become your teacher, not your enemy. Let it guide you towards strength, discipline, and calm endurance. This is how you build a mind that does not collapse under pressure. Strength is not only built by what you add to your life, it is protected by what you remove. Many people focus on growth while ignoring the silent forces that weaken them every day. They want more discipline, more clarity, more confidence, but they keep habits, environments, and influences that slowly drain their energy. Stoicism teaches a difficult but necessary rule. Anything that consistently weakens you must be removed. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready, but consciously, deliberately, and calmly. This rule requires honesty. You must be willing to look at your life without excuses, not to judge yourself, but to see clearly. Weakness does not always come from dramatic problems. It often comes from small, repeated patterns that feel normal. Weakening influences take many forms. Some habits weaken you: endless scrolling, constant distraction, avoiding silence, overconsumption. These habits steal attention and reduce mental strength without making noise. You feel tired, unfocused, and restless, but you cannot point to a clear cause. Some environments weaken you, places where chaos is normal, where negativity is constant, where growth is discouraged, where your worst habits are reinforced instead of challenged. Some relationships weaken you, not because people are bad, but because the dynamic pulls you away from who you are becoming. Conversations that drain energy, expectations that limit growth, emotional patterns that keep you small. Stoicism does not ask you to judge others harshly. It asks you to protect your inner stability. Cutting what weakens you does not require anger. It requires clarity. You do not need dramatic confrontations. You do not need explanations that convince everyone. You need decisions that respect your future self. Many people stay attached to weakening influences out of fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of discomfort, fear of change. Stoicism teaches that avoiding necessary cuts creates deeper suffering later. Short discomfort prevents long-term weakness. Another important area to examine is your inner dialogue. Some thoughts weaken you more than any external influence. Repeated self-criticism, constant doubt, mental replay of failures, imagined judgments. These thoughts are habits, and habits can be interrupted. Cutting a thought does not mean suppressing it. It means refusing to engage with it. When a weakening thought appears, you notice it and let it pass without feeding it. Over time, its power fades. Cutting what weakens you also means simplifying your life. Many people try to improve while carrying too many priorities. Their energy is divided. Their focus is scattered. Stoicism values simplicity because simplicity strengthens attention. When you remove unnecessary commitments, clarity increases. This rule is not about becoming harsh or isolated. It is about alignment. When your habits, environment, and relationships support your values, strength grows naturally. In 2026, this rule will protect you from quiet exhaustion. You will no longer wonder why discipline feels hard. You will no longer feel constantly drained without knowing why. Strength will feel more accessible. Cutting what weakens you is an ongoing process. It does not happen once. It happens repeatedly as you grow and change. What was acceptable in the past may no longer fit the future. This does not mean you are ungrateful. It means you are evolving. Each time you remove a weakening influence, you create space for strength, space for focus, space for calm, space for growth. This rule also builds self-respect. When you protect your inner stability, you send yourself a clear message: my energy matters. This message changes how you act. You stop tolerating what drains you. You stop negotiating with habits that harm you. You stop explaining yourself to patterns that no longer belong in your life. And with each decision, your identity shifts. Before closing this lesson, remember this principle. You cannot build a strong life while feeding what weakens you. Growth is not only about effort, it is about protection. This completes the set of Stoic rules for this lesson. With these rules, you now have practical guidance for how to live in 2026, not perfectly, but intentionally. Lesson 4, Building a Stoic Identity for 2026. Most people build their lives on motivation, and that is exactly why their lives feel unstable. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls. It depends on mood, energy, inspiration, and circumstances. Some days it is strong. Other days it disappears completely. When motivation becomes the foundation of your actions, consistency becomes impossible. Stoicism teaches a different approach. Discipline must come before motivation. Discipline is not a feeling. It is a decision. When you rely on motivation, you act only when you feel ready. When you rely on discipline, you act because you decided who you are. This difference defines identity. A Stoic does not ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" He asks, "Is this aligned with my principles?" This shift changes everything. Many people believe discipline is harsh or restrictive. They imagine it as forcing yourself to suffer. Stoicism sees discipline as freedom. When your actions are guided by principles instead of emotions, your life becomes predictable in a good way. You stop negotiating with yourself every day. You stop wasting energy on inner debate. You stop depending on moods to move forward. Discipline simplifies life. Think about how much mental energy is lost each day deciding whether to act. Should I start now? Should I wait? Should I rest? Should I push? These constant decisions drain focus and create friction. Discipline removes this friction. When you decide in advance what kind of person you are, daily choices become easier. You do not need motivation to do what is already decided. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who finishes what I start. I am someone who acts calmly under pressure. These are not affirmations. They are identities. Stoicism teaches that identity shapes behavior more than goals do. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. And habits are built through discipline, not emotion. Discipline also protects you from excuses. Motivation gives excuses power. I'm tired. I don't feel inspired. Today is not the right day. Discipline listens and acts anyway. This does not mean ignoring your limits. It means respecting your commitments. There is an important distinction here. Discipline is not aggression toward yourself. It is reliability toward yourself. You do not force perfection. You require consistency. Stoic discipline is calm. It is steady. It is patient. You do not punish yourself for missing a day. You return the next day without drama. This attitude builds trust. When you keep your word to yourself, confidence grows naturally. Not confidence from success, but confidence from self-respect. You begin to see yourself as someone dependable. This is the foundation of a Stoic identity. In 2026, motivation will still come and go. Some days you will feel inspired. Many days you will not. Discipline ensures that your direction does not change with your feelings. This creates inner stability. Another benefit of discipline is emotional regulation. When you act consistently, emotions become less chaotic. Anxiety decreases. Overthinking decreases. You feel grounded because your behavior is aligned with your values. Discipline creates order. Order creates calm. Stoicism does not ask you to discipline everything at once. It asks you to choose a few key behaviors that define who you are becoming. Small daily actions performed consistently shape identity faster than large efforts performed occasionally. For example, keeping your word, starting when you said you would, finishing what you begin, choosing calm over reaction. These actions seem simple, but repeated daily, they transform how you see yourself. Discipline also teaches patience. You stop expecting immediate results. You focus on process. You allow growth to be gradual. This removes frustration and creates endurance. In a world obsessed with speed and instant results, discipline is a quiet rebellion. It allows you to build something solid while others chase emotion. Before moving forward, remember this principle. Motivation may start action, but discipline sustains identity. When you build your life on discipline instead of feelings, you stop asking life to feel easy. You prepare yourself to be strong. This is the first pillar of a Stoic identity for 2026. Your attention shapes your life more than you realize. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. Where your energy goes, your habits form. And where your habits form, your identity is built. Stoicism teaches a truth that feels simple but is deeply powerful. If you do not control your attention, something else will. Modern life constantly fights for your attention. Notifications, opinions, comparisons, news, and endless information pull your focus in every direction. When your attention is scattered, your mind becomes scattered. Clarity disappears. Discipline weakens. You feel busy but unfulfilled. A Stoic treats attention as a limited resource. Not everything deserves it. Not everyone earns it. Not every thought needs to be followed. This is why attention is a weapon. When used intentionally, it protects your inner stability. When used carelessly, it weakens you. Many people believe their lack of focus is a personal flaw. Stoicism shows that distraction is often environmental. When your environment constantly stimulates you, focus becomes difficult. The solution is not willpower alone. It is awareness and boundaries. The Stoic begins by noticing where attention is being lost. How often do you reach for your phone without thinking? How often do you react to opinions that do not affect your life? How often do you replay conversations that are already over? How often do you worry about things you cannot control? Each of these moments drains energy. Stoicism teaches that attention should be directed toward what improves your character, your clarity, and your actions. Anything else is secondary. This does not mean ignoring the world. It means choosing your focus deliberately. When you discipline attention, thinking becomes sharper. Decisions become easier. Emotions become calmer. You stop feeling overwhelmed because you're no longer trying to process everything at once. Another important aspect of attention is presence. Many people live mentally in the past or the future. They replay what happened or worry about what might happen. Stoicism brings attention back to the present moment. The present is where action exists. The present is where choice exists. The present is where calm is possible. When you focus on what is happening now, anxiety decreases. Overthinking loses power. You deal with one thing at a time instead of everything at once. Attention also shapes emotion. What you focus on emotionally grows. If you focus on fear, fear expands. If you focus on frustration, frustration deepens. If you focus on progress, strength builds. Stoicism teaches you to redirect attention gently, not forcefully, not aggressively, simply by choosing again. When a negative thought appears, you notice it and return attention to something useful. When distraction pulls you away, you bring yourself back without judgment. This practice builds mental strength over time. Another important element is reducing unnecessary input. Many people consume far more information than they can process. This creates confusion and mental fatigue. Stoicism values simplicity. You do not need to know everything. You need to know what matters. Reducing input creates space for reflection. Reflection creates wisdom. Attention as a weapon also means knowing when not to engage. Not every argument needs a response. Not every comment deserves energy. Not every emotion needs expression. Choosing silence can be powerful. When you stop reacting to everything, your inner world becomes quieter. You regain control over your emotional state. You feel less pulled by external noise. In 2026, this skill will be essential. The world will not become quieter, but you can become more selective. A Stoic identity is built on deliberate attention. You decide what enters your mind. You decide what stays. You decide what shapes you. This does not happen instantly. It is a practice. Each day, you train attention the same way you train discipline, through repetition. The reward is clarity. Before moving forward, remember this principle. Your life feels chaotic when your attention is scattered. Your life feels stable when your attention is disciplined. Attention is not just focus. It is direction. And direction determines who you become. Emotions are powerful, but they are unstable guides. They rise quickly. They fall without warning. They change with sleep, stress, hunger, success, failure, and opinion. If you build your life on emotions, your direction will constantly shift. One day you feel confident, the next day uncertain. One moment you feel motivated, the next moment discouraged. This instability creates inconsistency, and inconsistency weakens identity. Stoicism teaches a stronger foundation. Emotions inform you, but principles guide you. Principles are steady. They do not change with mood. They do not depend on comfort. They remain the same in success and difficulty. A Stoic does not try to eliminate emotions. He understands them, but he does not let them decide his actions. He listens to emotion, then consults principle. This creates balance. Many people act first and reflect later. When emotions lead, actions are often impulsive. Words are spoken that cannot be taken back. Decisions are made that create regret. Energy is wasted reacting instead of choosing. Living by principles slows this process. When something happens, instead of asking, "How do I feel?" the Stoic asks, "What is the right response according to my values?" This question changes behavior. For example, when anger appears, emotion says, "React." Principle says, "Pause." When fear appears, emotion says, "Avoid." Principle says, "Act with courage." When desire appears, emotion says, "Take now." Principle says, "Consider long-term consequences." Principles create restraint without suppression. They allow you to feel without being controlled by feeling. This is especially important during pressure. Under stress, emotions intensify. If you are not guided by principles, stress will push you into behaviors that do not represent who you want to be. Stoicism prepares you for pressure by deciding in advance how you will act. This is key. You do not decide who you are in the moment of chaos. You decide it beforehand. When difficulty arrives, you simply follow what has already been chosen. This reduces inner conflict. Living by principles also simplifies decisions. When your values are clear, choices become easier. You no longer weigh every option emotionally. You ask whether it aligns with your principles. If it does, you act. If it does not, you decline. This clarity saves energy. Many people feel exhausted not because they do too much, but because they constantly debate with themselves. Principles remove this debate. Examples of Stoic principles might include, I act with calm under pressure. I tell the truth without cruelty. I do not act out of anger. I do what is difficult but right. I do not trade long-term stability for short-term comfort. These are not rules imposed from outside. They are standards you choose. Once chosen, they protect you. Principles also protect your self-respect. When you act according to your values, you can accept the outcome calmly. Even if things do not go as planned, you know you acted with integrity. This creates inner peace. Without principles, success feels empty and failure feels devastating. With principles, both become manageable. Another important aspect of this rule is emotional literacy. Stoicism does not ignore emotions. It teaches you to understand them without obeying them blindly. Emotions are signals. They tell you something matters, but they do not always tell you what to do. When you learn to observe emotion instead of becoming it, emotional intensity decreases. You stop identifying completely with what you feel. You regain perspective. This perspective creates freedom. Living by principles also improves relationships. When emotions control behavior, relationships become unstable. When principles guide behavior, trust grows. People know what to expect from you. You become consistent. Consistency is one of the strongest forms of respect. In 2026, emotional pressure will be constant. Opinions will be loud. Reactions will be encouraged. Stoicism offers an alternative: calm, principled action. This does not make life dull. It makes life intentional. Before moving forward, remember this principle: emotions pass, principles remain. Build your life on what remains. When emotions are strong, return to principle. When confusion appears, return to principle. When temptation arises, return to principle. This return is what builds a Stoic identity. In a world that constantly reacts, the calm person stands out. Most people are pulled by events. Their mood changes with circumstances. Their energy rises and falls with news, opinions, success, and failure. They live in a constant state of adjustment, always responding, rarely grounded. Stoicism offers a different posture. Become the calm center. Being the calm center does not mean avoiding life or feeling nothing. It means remaining stable while life moves around you. It means being rooted in principles, discipline, and clarity, so external turbulence does not shake your inner state. This is one of the most powerful forms of strength. The calm center is built slowly. It is not a personality trait. It is an identity formed through repeated choices. Each time you choose discipline over impulse, attention over distraction, principle over emotion, you reinforce this center. Calm is not weakness. Calm is control. When you are calm, you see more clearly. When others panic, you think. When others react, you observe. When others rush, you move deliberately. This gives you an advantage in every area of life. Becoming the calm center also changes how you experience pressure. Pressure does not disappear, but it no longer overwhelms you. You feel it without being consumed by it. You respond instead of collapsing. This ability creates confidence, not loud confidence, quiet confidence. People trust calm. They listen to calm. They feel safe around calm. This does not mean pleasing everyone. It means being grounded enough not to seek validation. Stoicism teaches that inner stability is more valuable than external approval. When you stop needing constant feedback, your mind becomes free. You are no longer dependent on praise to feel worthy or criticism to feel defeated. You become internally referenced. This inner reference point is essential for 2026. The world will continue to be fast, noisy, and reactive. Opinions will shift quickly. Trends will rise and fall. If your identity depends on these external signals, instability is guaranteed. The calm center protects you from this instability. Another aspect of being the calm center is emotional containment. You feel emotions fully, but you do not spread them unnecessarily. You do not unload every frustration. You do not react publicly to every irritation. You process internally first. This creates dignity. Dignity is not arrogance. It is self-command. When you contain emotion instead of expressing it impulsively, emotion loses intensity. You regain choice. You act intentionally. The calm center also allows you to handle conflict better. When others are emotional, you remain steady. You do not mirror chaos. You de-escalate by your presence. You speak clearly. You set boundaries without aggression. This changes dynamics. Many conflicts exist only because emotions collide. Calm interrupts this cycle. Becoming the calm center also requires solitude. Not isolation, but intentional time alone to reflect, recalibrate, and reconnect with your principles. Without solitude, the mind absorbs too much external noise. Stoicism values regular withdrawal. Silence is not emptiness, it is restoration. In silence, you realign with who you are becoming. You notice where you drifted. You correct gently. This keeps the calm center strong. This identity does not make you passive. It makes you decisive. Calm people act with precision. They do not hesitate because of fear or rush, because of emotion. They move when the moment is right. This timing is a form of wisdom. In 2026, being the calm center will be rare. Many will be anxious. Many will be reactive. Many will be emotionally exhausted. Your calm will feel like strength because it is. Before closing this lesson, remember this principle. You do not need to control the world to be stable. You only need to control yourself. The calm center is not built in one day. It is built every day. Through discipline, through attention, through principles, through acceptance. This completes the identity phase. You are no longer trying to change randomly. You are becoming someone stable, and stability is the foundation of lasting strength. Lesson 5. Walking into 2026 with strength and clarity. Most lives do not change because people lack knowledge. They change or fail to change because of consistency. Many people know what they should do. They understand discipline, focus, and responsibility. They feel inspired at times. But inspiration alone does not transform a life. What transforms a life is what you repeat when no one is watching. Stoicism teaches a quiet but decisive truth. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Intensity is emotional. It appears suddenly and disappears just as fast. It creates strong beginnings and weak endings. Consistency, on the other hand, is calm. It does not impress. It does not rush. It simply continues. This is why consistency builds strength. A consistent action may feel small in the moment. One calm response, one disciplined choice, one focused hour, one avoided distraction. These actions do not feel heroic, but repeated daily, they reshape your character. Stoicism does not glorify dramatic transformation. It respects steady progress. A Stoic understands that life is not changed in one decision, but in thousands of quiet ones. Many people sabotage themselves by waiting for perfect conditions. They tell themselves they will start when they feel ready, when life slows down, when motivation returns. Stoicism teaches that waiting weakens consistency. You begin where you are, with what you have, as you are. Consistency does not require perfection, it requires return. When you fail, you return. When you drift, you return. When you lose focus, you return. This return is the real practice. Consistency also creates trust, not with others first, but with yourself. Each time you keep a small promise, you reinforce self-respect. You prove to yourself that you are reliable. Over time, this reliability becomes confidence. Not confidence from success, confidence from character. This kind of confidence does not collapse under pressure. It does not depend on praise or results. It comes from knowing that you will show up again tomorrow. In 2026, many people will feel overwhelmed by the speed of life. They will try to change everything at once and burn out. Stoicism offers a different path, slow, deliberate progress. Consistency protects you from burnout because it respects limits. It does not ask for maximum effort every day. It asks for sustainable effort. This is important. A life built on extremes eventually breaks. A life built on consistency adapts. Consistency also simplifies decisions. When actions become habitual, You no longer debate with yourself. You act. This reduces mental fatigue. Your mind becomes quieter because fewer decisions are needed. This quiet supports clarity. Another important aspect of consistency is patience. Modern culture demands quick results. Stoicism reminds you that meaningful change takes time. When you accept this, frustration decreases. You stop measuring progress emotionally and start measuring it structurally. Are you showing up more often? Are you reacting less impulsively? Are you acting with more intention? These are signs of progress. Consistency also helps you maintain direction during difficult periods. When life becomes challenging, habits carry you forward. You do not rely on motivation, you rely on structure. This structure becomes a form of support. Walking into 2026 with strength does not mean feeling powerful every day. It means continuing even when days feel ordinary or difficult. It means trusting the process rather than demanding constant proof. Stoicism values this quiet endurance. Before moving forward, remember this principle. Do not underestimate what small actions can become when repeated without interruption. Consistency is not exciting. It is effective. And effectiveness is what changes a life. In a world that never stops speaking, silence becomes a form of strength. Most people are rarely alone with their thoughts. The moment silence appears, they reach for noise. Music, messages, videos, opinions, updates, anything to avoid stillness. Over time, this constant stimulation weakens inner order. The mind becomes reactive, scattered and tired. Stoicism teaches something simple and powerful. Silence and solitude are not emptiness. They are restoration. When you remove noise, you begin to hear yourself again. Silence allows the mind to settle. Without constant input, thoughts slow down naturally. You stop reacting to everything. You stop processing unnecessary information. Clarity begins to return. This is not about isolating yourself from the world. It is about creating intentional moments of withdrawal so your mind can breathe. Even short periods of silence can restore inner balance. Solitude serves a similar purpose. Many people fear being alone because they confuse solitude with loneliness. Stoicism makes a clear distinction. Loneliness is the pain of feeling disconnected. Solitude is the strength of being self-contained. When you spend time alone, intentionally, you reconnect with your values. You reflect on your actions. You notice where you drifted. You correct gently. This process creates inner alignment. Without solitude, your identity becomes shaped entirely by external influence. Opinions, trends, and expectations begin to define you. Stoicism protects you from this by encouraging regular inner contact. Inner order cannot exist without reflection. When your inner world is disordered, even simple decisions feel heavy. You feel pulled in many directions. You feel busy without feeling effective. Silence and solitude restore order by reducing unnecessary movement. In silence, you notice what matters. In solitude, you decide who you are becoming. Stoicism does not demand long retreats or extreme isolation. It values consistency over intensity. A few minutes of quiet observation each day can have a deep effect. During these moments, you do not need to force insights. You simply observe. Thoughts come and go. Emotions rise and fall. By watching without judgment, you train calm awareness. This awareness strengthens emotional regulation. You become less reactive because you recognize emotional patterns early. You catch tension before it becomes stress. You catch frustration before it becomes anger. Silence also reduces impulsive behavior. When you are constantly stimulated, the mind seeks quick relief. This leads to distraction and avoidance. Silence restores patience. It teaches you to stay present without escaping. Solitude builds self-trust. When you are comfortable alone, you no longer depend on constant validation. You stop measuring your worth through others' reactions. You become internally grounded. This grounding creates confidence. Another important effect of solitude is perspective. When you step back from constant interaction, you see situations more clearly. Problems feel smaller. Emotions feel more manageable. You stop over-identifying with temporary states. Stoicism teaches that inner order is created when the mind is not constantly pulled outward. Order allows focus. Focus allows effective action. In 2026, silence and solitude will be rare. The world will encourage constant engagement. Stoicism invites you to do the opposite, not as rebellion, but as protection. When you protect silence, you protect clarity. When you protect solitude, you protect identity. This does not mean withdrawing from responsibility. It means returning to the world refreshed and aligned. Before moving forward, remember this principle. Noise scatters the mind. Silence gathers it. Silence and solitude are not escapes. They are tools. Tools that help you walk into 2026 with inner order, calm strength, and clear direction. Many people live as if they are constantly being watched. They adjust their words, their choices, and even their goals based on how they might be perceived. Approval becomes a quiet currency. Disapproval becomes a silent threat. Over time, this need for validation weakens inner freedom. Stoicism offers a powerful alternative. Your worth does not depend on being approved. The desire for validation is natural, but when it becomes a habit, it creates dependence. You begin to measure your actions by reactions. You hesitate to act if praise is uncertain. You feel anxious when recognition is delayed. You feel discouraged when effort goes unnoticed. This dependence creates instability. Stoicism teaches that a stable life must be internally referenced. Your standards must come from your principles, not from opinions that change constantly. When you rely on validation, your emotional state becomes fragile. Praise lifts you temporarily. Criticism cuts deeply. Silence feels like rejection. You are no longer free to act with clarity because you are waiting for confirmation. Freedom begins when you remove this dependency. This does not mean ignoring feedback completely. Stoicism values reason, not arrogance. Useful feedback can inform improvement, but validation should never determine your identity. There is an important difference between learning and needing approval. Learning strengthens you. Needing approval weakens you. Stoicism teaches you to evaluate yourself honestly. Did you act according to your values? Did you apply discipline? Did you respond calmly? These questions replace the need for external judgment. When you answer them truthfully, peace follows. Another effect of releasing validation is courage. Many people avoid necessary actions because they fear how others will react. They delay decisions. They hide opinions. They remain silent when they should speak. Stoicism teaches courage without aggression. When your actions are guided by principle, you do not need to convince everyone. You act because it is right, not because it is popular. This courage builds self-respect. Freedom from validation also simplifies relationships. When you stop performing for approval, interactions become more honest. You speak more clearly. You set boundaries without guilt. You walk away from dynamics that drain you. This does not isolate you. It clarifies who belongs in your life. Another important aspect of this freedom is emotional stability. When approval is removed from the equation, emotions settle. You are less reactive to praise and criticism. You remain steady. This steadiness allows focus. In a world driven by likes, comments, and constant comparison, this independence is rare. Many people unconsciously shape their lives around attention. Stoicism invites you to step out of this cycle. Attention is not meaning. Recognition is not purpose. Purpose comes from alignment. When you stop needing validation, you regain time and energy. You stop checking. You stop waiting. You stop adjusting yourself constantly. Your mind becomes quieter. This quiet is powerful. It allows you to pursue goals that matter, even if they are not immediately rewarded. It allows you to grow in private. It allows you to build strength without an audience. Stoicism respects silent progress. Another benefit of this freedom is resilience. When failure occurs, you do not feel publicly exposed. When success occurs, you do not become dependent on applause. You remain grounded in both cases. This grounding protects identity. Freedom from validation also means accepting misunderstanding. Not everyone will understand your choices. Not everyone will agree. Stoicism teaches that this is normal. Agreement is not required for integrity. You do not need to be liked to be stable. You need to be aligned. As you walk into 2026, this principle will protect you from unnecessary anxiety. You will act more decisively. You will speak more honestly. You will live with less emotional noise. Before moving forward, remember this principle. When you stop asking for approval, you start listening to yourself. And when you listen to yourself with clarity and discipline, direction becomes obvious. Entering a new year does not require a dramatic transformation. It requires direction. Many people cross into a new year carrying the same confusion, the same habits, and the same emotional weight. They hope something external will change. Stoicism teaches that lasting change comes from how you walk forward, not from where the calendar places you. To enter 2026 with strength is to enter it grounded. Grounded does not mean rigid. It means stable. It means clear. It means rooted in principles rather than emotions. Throughout this journey, you have learned how to let go of unnecessary weight, how to see reality clearly, how to build discipline, and how to stabilize your inner world. Now, the task is simple. Not easy, but simple. Carry these principles forward consistently. Walking into 2026 does not mean rushing. Stoicism values measured movement. You do not need to fix everything at once. You do not need to prove anything. You only need to continue acting in alignment. Alignment is the real victory. When your actions reflect your values, peace follows naturally. You stop arguing internally. You stop questioning every step. You move forward calmly, even when outcomes are uncertain. This calm movement is powerful. Entering 2026 as a grounded individual also means accepting that difficulty will still exist. Stoicism does not promise a smooth path. It promises stability on an uneven one. Challenges will arise. Delays will happen. Discomfort will appear. The difference is that you will no longer be surprised by them. You will meet difficulty without panic. You will meet uncertainty without collapse. You will meet setbacks without losing direction. This readiness creates confidence. Another key aspect of entering 2026 grounded is continuity. Many people treat a new year as a reset button. Stoicism treats it as a continuation. You do not erase the past. You build on it. Each lesson learned becomes a foundation. Each disciplined action becomes a habit. Each calm response becomes part of your identity. This continuity removes pressure. You are not starting from zero. You are moving forward from experience. Being grounded also means respecting limits. You are human. You will not be perfect. Some days will be productive, others will not. Stoicism teaches balance, effort without self-violence. When you fall short, you do not abandon the path. You return to it calmly. This return is strength. Entering 2026 grounded also means choosing depth over noise. You will be tempted to compare, to rush, to react. Stoicism invites you to slow down and focus on what truly matters. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everything requires your reaction. Not every opportunity is worth pursuing. Choosing carefully creates freedom. As you move forward, remember that your inner state is your responsibility. The world will continue to change. Opinions will shift. Events will unfold without asking permission. Your task is not to control these things, but to remain aligned within them. This alignment is what makes you resilient. In 2026, you may not always feel strong, but you will act with strength. You may not always feel confident, but you will move with clarity. You may not always feel calm, but you will return to calm more quickly. This is real progress. Before closing this final lesson, hold on to this idea. You do not need a perfect life to live well. You need a steady mind and clear principles. With these, you can navigate uncertainty without fear. You can face challenges without losing yourself. You can grow without rushing. You're not entering 2026 hoping to change. You are entering 2026 prepared to live intentionally, and that makes all the difference. 2026 does not ask you to become someone new overnight. It asks you to become consistent. You have learned that strength is built quietly, through discipline, clarity, and calm repetition. Not by chasing motivation, not by fighting reality, but by choosing your response each day. The world will remain uncertain. Challenges will still appear, but you no longer need perfect conditions to move forward. You only need to stay aligned with your principles. Walk into 2026 grounded, focused, and steady. Let your actions speak louder than your emotions. Let calm guide you when things are unclear. Change does not begin with the calendar. It begins with how you live the next moment. And that choice is always yours.